it saves time.
Yeah.
And then we can get up here.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are great. In coaching and playing the game of football, you've got to have precision on your mind, especially in the offensive line. The big guys, the ones that are blocking everybody and opening up holes for those fancy backs and quarterbacks and wide receivers. But you can't, you know, you can tell whether a team is well coached or not. Let me put it that way, okay? You start looking for this when you're watching TV or in person. You're watching. Maybe your sons are football players in high school. They will learn that lesson sometimes by the time they're seniors. And that's not because they don't want to do it. That's because they haven't had a program where the coaches are demanding on that point. It wins games. Precision wins games. And it's, of course, talent, you know, and everybody's got talent. You know, kid yourself. They do have talent. So those that do have a precision offense, the offensive line, they've got by far the best precision operation. They're going to score more points. They're going to get fewer penalties. They're going to eliminate penalties like jumping off sides. You know, some people, when you try to do this, it's going to sound like you're popcorn. Just, we're trying to do it all at once. It's going to sound like 3 separate ones. Okay? Let's do this. All right. I'm saying y'all are ready. I was impressed over there. I don't know if we have someone that we can make run wind sprints or not. Yeah, okay. Let's give them 3. Again, 3. Let's give them 3. Give them 3. Way to go, gang. Ah, y'all are good. Oh, that's good practice. What?
But why is that important?
Well, it is important when, like when you saw your names up here, and that is amazing now. And I'm so proud of y'all. I wish, you know, well, I don't wish, we are a part of this group.
Yes, yeah, you are.
Yeah. Thank you. Give us 3. I'll tell you, that little deal there is something that you ought to remember to, in your own mind, be precision-wise. You know, when I first started coaching, I was coaching in high school. I had, once I got, I was a graduate assistant coach for the University of Arkansas. That was my first. Huh? Yeah, that's right. Are you a Razorback?
My daughter goes there.
Oh, your daughter goes there? All right. Guarantee you, they got all pretty women up there.
Yeah.
Where was I? You got to teach your sons, you know, don't let women distract you. We had, when I went to high school coaching, and I was 23 years old, and I was the head football coach and athletic director at one of the large high schools in South Texas, Edinburgh, Texas, back when it was just like 4A. Here it's like 17A, I know that. You know, it's bigger and better. But anyway, I thought, you know, I could take care of not just most things, but all things as far as the football team was concerned. At our first ball game, of course, everybody's excited. We go out there on the field, we warm up, we come back in. You know, they always warm up and then they disappear and y'all wonder where they go. You know, they go back in and relieve themselves. So they don't have to do that during the first quarter. But anyway, we go out there to start the game, and it dawned on me that I had forgotten to put in our kickoff return. We're going to receive, and you know, I'm wasting timeouts, and I called them in, you know, into the huddle, and I told them, I said, hey, you 5 bigger guys get up on the line. Tell the official to help you line up. And that's good. The officials do that. Y'all seen that in games where you officials have to kind of move them up or move them back. Then let's have 3 of our defensive players that are big enough to go knock somebody down. You line up about 18 yards behind that front. And the other 3, you go back and you feel that ball, and when you get it, you head north. You head straight ahead and take advantage of the block. And you know what? We go out there and we almost score. You thought it was organized. But it wasn't. But I'll say this. You're always smart to recognize opportunities. And I put that in our playbook. That night, after we won the ball game, put in a kickoff return that always stayed with us. I used it in college coaching, and I'm very proud of that. It was an accident, but it was a lesson for me, and it was an opportunity. It turned out to be. And if you look, you know, you ought to be hunting those opportunities. You recognize talent, you recognize opportunities, and you get rich.
Basically.
Yeah, that's
The plan.
3 for her. Yeah, I'll tell you what. That all 3 of our children, Diane and I, they were athletic. They were very competitive, and they would. Our daughters. I had a machine at home that was about this, like this, and it was for movies, where you take and you stop and you take it frame by frame, and TV stations have them everywhere, you know. Well, I had one up in our bedroom, so that I could be with the family, but be with the team too, and study our next opponent. And they used to watch all of our recruiting films. I promise you, our daughters could pick out the top players that you're going to see just by watching. There was 2 of them right here with me, and we watched those. Who's that, Dad?
Herky Walls.
Huh?
I remember Herky Walls in high school.
That's right. Herky Walls from Garland. Anybody know Herky? He's one of the best wide receivers that the country has seen. Wasn't real big. He was about 140 pounds. But he said, I can put the phone on him, Coach. He's something else. He's also one of the fastest 20-year-olds in the world. He could literally fly. And we would put him in as a wide receiver. Now what we're doing here, here's a lesson in versatility. And I know that, where's Beverly with you? She was, that's okay. You know, she's versatile. She really is. She could be a wide receiver in our offense. But anyway, Herky was one of those that would run in the Olympics. He's that time. He just didn't want to do it. Believe me, he could outrun most of the world. And from Garland, Texas. And, yeah, he was at our home. All right. Now I want to tell you how people, when they're not ready, how they act and react. And I think you're going to catch on that I'm going to talk a little football here. But I'm telling you, teamwork can happen anywhere. It can happen at your breakfast table. It can happen at your dinner table. When you've got your kids that you're trying to help them aim at whatever they can reach, and even out of reach. So I like to talk teamwork. And when I was there at that little town, and that first football team I coached, we had a linebacker that was our starting center. He was also our second team linebacker. That's because we wanted to train everybody both ways back then. And it turned out that when he got out of college, and we had 22 seniors on this team, and 18 of the 22 seniors got college degrees. They were always trying to deliver, trying to make it happen, and that's why they did make it happen. Well, this center he would always try to get me to put him in the game at middle linebacker. And I said, Pete Garza was his name. And I said, Pete, I said, look, I don't want you to get in there and turn an ankle or something. I got to have a center that's healthy. You're the guy that starts the thing every play. You initiate the play. And so I said, I'll tell you what, if we get 21 points ahead, we'll put you in and you can play some linebacker. So we did. We got 28 points ahead. And he's over there pulling on my shirt. And, so I put him in the game. So he goes out there. Now, down in distance is something that some people don't understand what it is. But it's like 1st and 10, that's easy. But you know, 3rd and 12, it's a pretty good, a pretty good chance that they're going to throw the ball, right? Mm-hmm. 3rd and 12 instead of 3rd and 2. They're going to run if it's 3rd and 2 most of the time. All right, he's in there now, and he's up here right on that center's nose. He's so anxious, he just keeps inching up, like I'm going to come out and run over you, So here he is, he's up here like this, and I start hollering. It's 3rd down and 12. We don't want him up here. He needs to be back here playing pass defense. You know, I hadn't talked about this one since Edinburgh.
Keep telling them, we got limited time.
So anyway, I start hollering. And I got the other people around me to holler with me. And we're hollering, Pete, loosen up! Loosen up! Loosen up! And he's, you know, and he's looking over there. Loosen up! He starts. That's the honest to God truth. Loosen up! I want to tell you one more before I turn him loose on you. We had, there's, you know, giving people help. People in this room are extremely qualified in your industry. When you get someone new, help out your team by answering questions that they have. They don't have to all come from one or two or three. Seniors need to always help teach freshmen. And so on. Neighbors that are moving in, they need to know what goes on in your area of town. This is important. We had a young man that was a freshman. He was a good little running back already when he was a freshman. No one in the family spoke English but him. He was Mexican-American, about 80% of our team was. And Edinburgh is right across the street from Mexico. You know, just that kind of lesson is handy, very handy. The other guys on the team help when we're trying to instruct as a coach. Well, I had them after the ball game. We won it, and it was a big win for us and to start the season. And on Saturdays, we would have our players come in, and we would take like an hour to watch the fields, and we would give for great plays on the field. Just like that board up here, those were great plays. Gosh, great plays. Well, anyway, I said, we're going to be up here at 10 o'clock, and he came in and he told me, he said, Coach, I can't be there and watch the film. And I said, oh yeah, you can. He said, you know, the rest of everybody's going to be here. We're going to go over this. Just taking an hour. He said, but I work. I have to work. And I said, where do you work? He said, well, I work down at the Piggly Wiggly store. Are y'all familiar with Piggly Wiggly? So I said, well, I can call down there and see if I can get you loose for an hour or 45 minutes. Just, we need to get you involved and keep you involved. So I said, who's the owner? And he said, well, I think it's Mr. Wiggly. You know? And so I said, well, I'm going to call Mr. Wiggly, and we're going to see about getting you out of here. But nobody had, talked to him about that. Now, he was sincere, really sincere. He was a good student, but nobody had given him much help in identifying, a person instead of an institution. Danny went through a tremendously precise surgery. If 3 great surgeons operated on him at the same time, really. He had, I was kidding you about, he's not going to show you a scar, but that scar went from here all the way over to here and up. It was like a flap, but that's where it's going to, where we're going to operate. And one had to hold the liver to get to the vein that had the cancer in it and was growing up every hour. The other, you had his intestine where they pulled it and where they could get to the kidney. And they got to the kidney. Now, can you imagine this? I can't tell you how tricky that was. Those guys were absolutely great. Everybody there, they had a team, a real team, life and death team. And he's always been tough enough to handle things, and thank goodness he was this time too, because those guys needed for him to participate. We answer when they ask you a question before the surgery. Don't fail to ask questions. So anyway, that's about the only time I've heard him ask about things when he wouldn't, when he was not happy.
And so if it serves as any evidence, if you're in a situation where you've got loved ones that have got their real crisis on their hands, just know that there's talented people out there. There's a support system out there. If you just ask, let them know. You don't have to keep that and just deal with it yourself. People like you, when you put those thoughts out, it is received. And the things that I've been exposed to now after going through this, there's more to what we are able to visually see. Okay? And so if you're a believer, those are not idle prayers. It is having an impact. It manifests itself in reality. So know when you put out the thoughts, there is a consequence to it. And thank goodness y'all were loving on me, okay? But you know what? Those same kind of thoughts, when you put out in the negative, detrimental way, also manifest themselves. And that's where you got to get your hands on this stuff. I didn't see the hands. How many have not heard us talk before? Okay. Well, what we know now about how to think, how many of you have gone into a situation where you don't anticipate it to go successful based on past history or based on past dealings with them, not even that you had, but others have had with them? Yeah, and isn't it amazing what a great predictor you become? But that's just like prayer in the negative sense. It's going to manifest itself. What's going on in your life that you don't like that's going on? Where do you want it a little better? Well, what are you thinking about? Even in your prayer, oh, please, help me get over this illness. Well, what are you affirming? I'm sick. Isn't it amazing how you stay sick? Well, for some reason, just not listening to my thoughts. No, it is. You are being heard. It's amazing what's been happening. We were just starting to talk. But anyway, there's studies that were done about 30 years ago. And really it was showing how, let's just say, we're all energy beings. We've got energy. Well, so does our world. And that energy is picked up. And that's why when you run into some places, whether it's somebody's home, and if there's conflict, you pick it up without even hearing words. It's just a heavy... Your kids know when mom and dad aren't getting along, don't they? Even though you try to hide it in the closet in the master bedroom. You know what I'm talking about? They know when you're not getting along. There's a heaviness to the air. Well, there's heaviness in the air when you go into some companies, by the way. We call it culture. All right? Well, one of the things we love about coming here is this energy. It is not common. It's a positive energy. Positive meaning it's a lightness to it. Y'all got a lot of things going on, yet there's this energy that's one that you know people care about you. Isn't that right? And I'm telling you, you got something unique. You got something special. It shouldn't be the exception. It should be the rule. I'm just telling you, you're the exception. Okay? And so we love coming here to see you. And just because of how we just feel better. I don't know what it is, just feel better. However, I want you thinking about, there was a study that was being done with plants, and I don't know if you read up on some of these studies, more and more of this is coming out. 30 years ago, academia used to find fault with these nutcases that were showing the validation of how energy is picked up. And they take electrodes, attach them to the leaves of some plants. Happened by accident in a study. The professor who was doing the studies wasn't even trying to assess this, but as he got close with his cigarette, it almost touched the plant, and it started picking up these violent vibrations. Got that? I'm just going to tell you one quick story. They did a little study where they had one student, they picked straws, the student came in, had two similar plants, and the student destroyed the plant, murdered the plant. In other words, tore the plant up. All the leaves, just destroyed the plant. Didn't touch the other one. Does that make sense? Now they're recording this. Students come in, he leaves the room. Students come in one at a time. Nothing, nothing, nothing. This student would come by. As soon as the guy came by that had done the murdering of the plant that was in the room, off the chart. Canada is even starting to look to using plants if they've been in a murder scene. Oh! Now my point in telling you this, it's amazing when you start seeing how we really are all connected. And you know, sometimes when you're doing this business, you know, your goal is just get a listing. And then you finally get one, and then it's like, what do I do? What do I listen? But you were in the classes, but it's like, Pete, loosen up. You know, it's like even the last scenario. What was that about the last one? Piggly Wiggly. It's like when you're out of the familiar, you don't think clearly. You don't recall knowledge. And I want you to know, you have the ability as a human being to use your forethought and to think ahead. And what I'm wanting you to do is just know that as you think ahead, you want to paint and imagine, in your imagination, success scenarios. Versus looking ahead and worrying about, oh my gosh, what if they discover I'm new in the business? Oh my gosh, what happens if it doesn't go right? Oh my gosh, I've just lost the 4th or 5th deal. Doggone it, I did everything right, it didn't happen. I've already spent the commission. You ever been there? Yeah, and your anxiety starts to run on you. Okay, now remember, when you have the anxieties, now you're thinking about negative consequences. The universe responds to that thinking. What happens now? What kind of emotion are you assimilating without even consciously knowing it? Okay, when you do that, you limit the use of this enormous God-given potential we've got, okay? Research psychologists out there, not one of them can tell us how much we have in human potential. But they do tell us what limits the use of it. And it's all linked to our thinking. It's those words, it's those conversations that you're having. What I'd like for you to do, just real quick, if you don't mind, just think about, or if you got a pencil and paper, just write down the 3 things you want to have happen in the next 90 days, 6 months furthest out. What do you want to have happen by the end of the summer? What do you want to have happen by Thanksgiving? Just real quick, write it down, just 3 things. Personally or professionally, with your business or at home. Or with just you. Just 3 things. I'm not going to ask you to do a lot. Just 3 things. Real quick. Okay, so allow yourself the freedom to do what I'm about to ask you to do. Just allow yourself to push past the uncomfortableness that some experience. Some of us really kind of poo-poo when I'm about to, oh, that's stupid. Oh, no, this is what elite do. And actually, you do this, by the way, when you are elite. Imagine those aspirations already done. And 6 months from now, they're done. You've accomplished it, you've become it, you have it, you've attained it. It's done. Just take it for a minute. Just imagine what it would be like. It is done. Now get a partner real quick. Get a partner. Literally get a partner. And 6 months from now, those 3 goals are done. They're accomplished. You've got it. You are it. You've attained it. What are people going to notice different about you? Tell your partner. Go. Okay. I know I'm cutting you a little short, but just because of time, let me ask you real quick. What did you notice take place as you were talking to your partner, telling them what people are going to notice different about you? What did you notice taking place? Go ahead.
We really kind of lit up a little bit.
Who noticed the energy level start to light up? Okay, good. What else? Good.
Oh, we have things in common.
Things in common in what way?
Common challenges.
Common challenges even. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Yep. What else?
All positive.
All positive in what way? What do you mean?
All good things.
Did you notice that everybody in here started to smile?
Yes.
Okay? Do you know if you'll repeat that exercise, allow yourself to do that goofy little dumb exercise, you are actually deliberately assimilating a response and emotion relative to your aspirations? And that with repetition, your subconscious doesn't decipher if it's real or not. It just says yes. And then once you get it in here, that emotional state, guess what? As the opportunities arise, you get hit with emotion, one that causes you to engage in activities to go get it. But if you leave it to chance and you don't think about it and take the time, this is what you do when you've been elite. This is what elite people do. They take the time to assimilate or sensualize. Excuse me, I'm spilling when I say that word. Family, how you doing? I'm so excited I got to change. What happens, I didn't even see you, you're so pretty. As you visualize and imagine, your subconscious now has a response pattern to opportunities. And when they arise, you are likely to release the use of the potential because you seek it out.
Right.
Does that make sense? Okay. If you're not, what will happen sometimes when you're not professional, when you're not seasoned, what ends up happening is you run the risk of letting negative scenarios run. Guess what? Your subconscious doesn't know if that's real reality or not. All it does is record that as well. So when the opportunities arise, guess what kind of emotion you get hit with? And that negative, not bad, it's just avoidant emotion cause you to disengage. So what I'm going to encourage you to do, take the time just to imagine, just allow yourself the freedom to go there and think ideals. It's called future perfect thinking. Your future in a perfect, ideal manner. Future perfect thinking. Now, when you're new in this business, you'll tend to have a tendency, like a teenager does, want to constantly tell everybody about themselves. You ever seen teenager conversations? When they're discovering who they are, they're creating this new identity as they're starting to mature and grow up. What do? What do they talk about? But it's sickening. Because they have this excessive need to talk about themselves. Yet, guess what? It's inappropriate when it's our age. Does that make sense? You want to speed up your business? Quit talking about you. In here, absolutely talk about you in the way you see yourself want to be, as though you are. But out here, what's the conversation about? It's about them. You want to find out their elegant dream. And the reason I tie elegant into that dream is not just their dream. I want the elegance of it. Because now they're really sharing with you why they really want what they want. So take it a little further. What's the elegance of what you're going after? Because then you can have that why conversation. Why are you doing it? They'll resonate with you. Does that make sense? All right, so now, I'm looking at this time here and I'm saying, okay, in 5 minutes, what do I want to share with you?
Can you have 10? Yeah. Okay, you got 10.
Is that okay to do that? Okay. What people are looking for if they're going to trust you, okay? I don't care who it is, if it's business or personal. They're looking for, do you really care? Are you competent? Are you reliable? And are you sincere? So if you go to a doctor, do they really care or do they just want to make the money for the surgery? Some don't really care. Okay? Are they competent? Well, they may be competent in knee surgery, but they don't have a clue. They've never had surgery for cancer. So you want to make sure, are they confident? Are you reliable? Is this your first surgery? All right. Or have you been doing this for years and with success? And are you sincere? Are you sincere? Okay? Now, when kids say they want to cook dinner, they may have all the sincerity, but they lack in the other areas. Does that make sense? So it's 3. So you don't want to assume. You want to know this as you meet new people. You want to constantly bank the fact that you care, you're competent, you're reliable, and that you're sincere. And when you do, keep that on your heart. You watch what happens to the quality of your relationships. You can lose a deal even though you've been working on it for months, and they still want you to be their broker. Does that make sense? You can have a setback, and you don't lose who you are, because while you're doing it, it's for the right reason. Follow that? Okay. So now, when I was listening to you, I was trying to think what was I going to talk about. I was doing my own affirmation, by the way. When you saw me looking at this stuff, I was just affirming. I'm taking the time to think about what I want to have happen as though it's done. And why aren't we doing that? Y'all have heard me talk about this, those that have heard me. Why don't we take the time to do that in the morning when we get up and the night before we go to bed, or before you go into a meeting? Why don't we do that? We're too busy. And y'all keep affirming a statement of fact, we're busy. We got so much going on, the market is so fast. Have y'all been saying that? I just can't seem to balance. No, you need to know how to change. Well, my plate is full. Well, then learn how to get a bigger plate. Well, how do you do that? Through imagery and visualization, just like what I'm talking about. So use what we've been talking to you about, and keep your intent appropriate. And it doesn't need to be about you. Okay? Do you need the money? Absolutely. You're not doing this just for the good. I mean, you want the good, but you also want to be compensated too, right? You're professional. And it's worth it to do what you do. However, when your focus is because I need the money so I can go buy more toys, your intent is off, and they'll know it. Another thing, the harder you try, the more doubt you imply. Remember that one. The harder you try, the more doubt you imply. You ever watch some of those shows where they're on TV even though you believe in what they're espousing, but when they're crying, trying to get you to donate? I can't get off that channel quick enough. You know what I'm saying? Good gosh. Well, the harder you try to convince somebody or convert them, the more doubt you imply. You know, why are you trying so hard to convert me? Haven't you converted self? Well, the harder you try to get a listing, make a sale, be confident when you're not confident, Don't go into the situation until you can get it right in here first. And you watch how much more poise you have in class. They'll know that you know you belong. You're at your best when you know you belong. So how do I get myself feeling comfortable? Through your imagination. Go there. Go there. There's 3 forms of logic that I'm talking to you about. Most people think in these 2 forms in the world. And the change is happening so fast. If you're like the majority of the population in the world, you're thinking either in an inductive and deductive reasoning style. And what I'm sharing with you is abductive. It hasn't been proven yet. But when you know this stuff, see, most people make their decisions based on past history, past experience. That's deductive and inductive reasoning. I'm telling you, start with the premise your aspiration is out there. And I'm saying you don't need to know how you're going to do it. Just get clear and talk and think as though it's done. Even though you're not getting any evidence of it immediately. And as you hold to the picture of your ideals, you watch what occurs in your universe, in your world. Okay? Does that make sense? Knowing this stuff is not risky. I can deal with all kinds of changes. I can do things in a rapid manner. I don't know how you feel, but if you're in okay, look. If you've been in your neighborhood, you've lived there for a while, how fast could you go through that neighborhood in your car if you're driving?
Very.
Oh my gosh! Extremely fast. I'm one hand on it, another hand on my cell phone, and if I've got kids, I can still get that and still have the conversation and go through the environment. Am I right?
Right.
However, if you're ever in a city where you've never been, and you don't know where you are, even though you got GPS, and the people if you got people in the car and they're starting to talk, or the radio's on, what do you end up doing? What do you say? What do you do? Shh, be quiet. I need to concentrate. Absolutely. Because it's not familiar. Some of you are building your business and not taking the time to get familiar with the neighborhood. When you get familiar with the neighborhood, you can go in warp speed. And it won't feel like everything is happening to you so fast because of this market. Some of you are having success because you've just gotten caught up in the market. You didn't cause it. And I'm not being negative here. I'm saying, pick it up. You've got a great opportunity because the market is. It's opportunistic right now. Why do you go to the classes? Why do you go to the trainings? I'll tell you why. Because you can differentiate yourself in the marketplace the more competent you are with understanding the market and contracts and other things that you provide. That's why you go to these classes. That make sense? But if you're too busy, you can't drive your... Try this in a parking lot. Don't do it on the main street. But get in the car and just try to look like 10 feet beyond the hood of the car and see how fast you can go. Can you imagine what I'm saying? Okay? Just kind of put a piece of paper just like 10 feet beyond the hood of the car and see how fast you can go. You can't go very fast, can you? Well, you can't safely. That's the way some of us are in our business. You're just looking 10 feet ahead of the car. Look out there. Look out there, because the further you look out, the faster you can go. And with change happening around you so fast, so quick, so much, you can still maintain balance in your life and not feel that I'm losing control, I'm overwhelmed, I'm out of balance, I don't have time for this. No, quit affirming that stuff. Quit affirming what you don't want happening. Making statements of fact. So by the way, when you get a compliment, what do you do?
Thank you.
Now, those that have heard this, we talked about it a lot, and I just left General, did a deal up in Valparaiso, okay? And it's amazing, this little piece that I'm doing with you right now, how essential it is. When you get a compliment, thank you. Give credit where it's due. That's part of humility. Being humble, truthful. If God's put you in a situation where you've had teamwork, you've had people that give them credit. But what's essential, we know this now, is you got to accept credit. Because your subconscious is listening. So when you get a compliment, what do you say? Thank you, but one on the inside. Oh, I love that. I love that outfit. What do you say?
Thank you.
Why, thank you, I appreciate it. Versus, I got it on sale. You don't need to go there. You're subconscious. You just rejected the compliment of you look awesome for humility's sake. But you're assimilating, shucks, oh no, I got it on sale for posterity, ever. Does that make sense? I love your hair. I can't get it to go the way you cut it. Does that make sense? Okay. So when you get, we've done that. When you get a cup, thank you very much. But on the inside, I want you to wallow in it like a pig in slop. I want you to get into it knee deep. Okay? Man, that was great the way you, way to go. You got that closing. Thank you. Had a lot of help. It was a team effort. But on the inside, dang, right, I'm good. Darn right. Just wait till the next one. You know, I really like the way that you approached the team today, and the way you talked about it, and the way you handled it. Thank you. Give them credit. But on the inside, you're dang right. That was good. Just wait till the next one. And I'm telling you, just take the little wins. And you really want to have fun with this stuff? I don't care if it's at Wendy's when you're pulling up to get a Diet Coke or getting something to eat. Take the time to actually talk to the person. Thank you very much. How's it going? Well, it's not going too good today. You know what? You're going to change it around. Take the time and watch how people respond to you. It's not common to have people actually care. Just get into the rhythm, that cadence of taking the time to be other-focused, looking to do good beyond self, and what happens to you when you do so. See, it's selfish. When I tell you I appreciate you, I'm just saying I love you, but I just don't want to say it so that you don't box me. But I do appreciate you. I sincerely mean it. And as much as I want you to feel that feeling that I appreciate you, guess what? It's selfish. I'm getting hit with an emotion. How does it feel when you tell somebody you love them? And you mean it? Doesn't it make you feel good? Well, guess what? There's a physiological response to my affirming that feeling. It causes me to feel a healthy way. Does that make sense? And all I got to do is say, I appreciate you. Try it and see what happens. Does that make sense? What lifestyle do you want? That's what y'all want you to think about. What lifestyle? We had a guy, oh gosh, named, he was not from the U.S. It was one of the Latin American countries. And as he was talking about his lifestyle, we started getting into this part in more depth. And we were talking about lifestyle. What do you want to create? And it was a real insight for him because he's 54 years old. He said he was given away at an orphanage at the age of 4. From the time he was given away to an orphanage, he didn't laugh, he didn't cry, he didn't share emotion. He said, it hit me, now this was a follow-up, this is phase 2, it hit me when my daughter at her wedding, my daughter at her mother's funeral, his wife's funeral, the daughter asked him, Dad, is it okay if I cry? Whew. Hit him. He didn't even know he was creating an environment where others around him couldn't share their emotion. Does that make sense? What lifestyle do you want to create? It's not just about getting listings and sales. It's about what kind of impact do you want on people around you. I tell you, you want to have happiness and joy and fulfillment and health. Become other-focused as you do your business. You'll get more customers and clients than you can handle. You'll be more happy while you do it, and guess what? It just cascades. And the next thing you know, people are giving you 3 for being in their life. Just like we give you guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions?
Shoot, any questions?
Do y'all understand the importance of give them 3?
You do it to validate. It's a quick way to validate. When somebody does something right, you want to give them a high five, butt slap, just give them 3. It's big. You don't go through your successes one time. We want to validate over and over our successes. By the way, your failures, I want you to go back and recall some of those too. Not the negative emotion of the loss, but how you got through it. Does that make sense? There's a big difference in believing in something, believing in the dream, and knowing. Most people believe they don't know. Okay? It's like intelligence. What they say with intelligence is having a contract. Experience is reading it or not reading it. Well, believing and knowing. There's a big difference in believing in something and knowing something. Before language, everything was knowing because they had to experience it. It was before me, before I existed, believing. Once language was there, you could start to communicate the experience. Does that make sense? Everybody was believing stuff, but they didn't know anything because they weren't experiencing it. So your vision, I want you to experience it, and how you do it is by imagining it. And by the way, if you don't know how, reach out and ask those that are successful in your business. Leverage their knowledge, leverage their experience so you'll speed up knowing versus believing you can be successful in this industry, right?
Yeah.
They'll help you if you ask. Am I right?
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Well, Leslie, anything else you want before we do anything? Before we get off?
Let's give them 3.
Huh?
Love it.
Thank you.
All right.
And y'all get number 1. And by the way, just finish those things you wrote down. Would you just go ahead and write them out as though they're done and just trust us that it works? And then take the time to imagine it over and over and over. Just tell me when next time we're here what happened. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.